So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another collaboration video of the Shield Dude on a Couch. Today, we're celebrating an album anniversary, and this is a big one. So, I'm joined for this one. I have Nick Sino. Nick, how are you?
Good, Hector. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. We have Emery for the second time on the channel. Emery, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. I was so excited to talk about this album.
Yes. And we have Rock of all ages. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. I saw Ringo Starr last night, so I'm in a good mood.
Nice. So the year was 2004, and this band released an album on September 21st that basically revived their career because they had an album in 2000 that didn't do that well. So the band that we're talking about today is Green Day, and the album is, there you have, American Idiot, which turns 20 years old. And yeah, this is an album. I have it on vinyl. I have a few Green Day albums on vinyl, but it's interesting that they put out 10 years before this. It was Dookie, which was their breakthrough record. Then 10 years later, they have American Idiot, and this year they released Saviors in 2024. Do I like it as much as these albums? No. but it was kind of a return to form. But we're here to talk American Idiot, the band's first concept album. And it was an album at the time when it came out that I remember before I listened to it, I read, they have a 9-minute song. And I'm like, what is this, Dream Theater? I'm like, Green Day, a 9-minute song? That was unheard of. They had short songs. So yeah, this was like a huge release for the band, and it basically revived their career after the slump that was Warning in 2000, which I actually enjoyed that album.
It's
But
fine.
yeah, but this was like a return to form, and the band really experimented on this one. So yeah, so talking about this, we're gonna give our first impressions of when we listened to this record, like how much of an impact it had on us and and society. And then we're gonna, on round two, we're gonna pick, instead of the weakest songs, we're gonna pick our favorite tracks from the record and say why they're our favorite. And finally, we'll ask the question 20 years later, has it aged well, and our final verdict. So let's start today. Uh, let's start with Nick, then we'll have Emery, and then Rock of Ages and me. So Nick, your first impressions with American Idiot.
Well, I grew up with Green Day in the '90s. They were one of those go-to bands when I was first starting to get into music. I want to say when Dookie came out in '94, I was like 10, so 10 or 11 years old. Started getting into Green Day, and when I was starting my first band with my buddy, that was one of his favorite bands as well. So they were like a big influence on us when we were first starting to play music when we were in high school. And I saw Green Day in Toronto in the year 2000. In the year 2000, it was one of the craziest mosh pits I'd ever been a part of. And so I remember like the preceding album to American Idiot, like Warning, like was a good record, but it wasn't really super successful on the level that the previous records, the first, Dookie, Insomniac and Nimrod, they weren't as successful as those records. And so American Idiot was like the resurgence, like we're saying, that they needed for the second part of their career. 10 years later, after Dookie, they got this second wind with this record. And I remember when it came out, and immediately when you saw the American Idiot video on TV, it just blew everybody's socks off. It was like that first title track, the first single, was an instant classic. And when the record finally came out, the record lived up to the hype as well. And I remember that Billy Joe Armstrong's lyrics took that turn on this record because it was a theme album talking about the Bush presidency and the Iraq war and everything that was going on 20 years ago. And he went from talking about being bored and stoned on a lot of the other songs to all of a sudden being this political commentator that he's been known for ever since. So that's kind of like the hallmark of Green Day's music now, especially on that new album Saviors. It still has that political bent to it as well. And then I just remember this album being such a huge huge record on music video channels. You know, up here in Canada, it was Much Music, and then all over rock radio with American Idiot and Holiday and Boulevard of Broken Dreams. And 20 years later, you'd be hard to find a rock radio station anywhere that still doesn't play those songs. Like, they still play those songs constantly on rotation. So I think that's a testament to this record. So I remember it well, and I liked it then, and I like it now.
Yeah, and plus they changed their look also on that one. They had that
Mhm.
that sleeky like black look with the ties. So Emery, like what was your first impressions when you listened to this back in the day?
So I first listened to this. This is gonna tell how young I am, but I was in high school in the 2010s, and so that's when I first listened to it. And I don't remember like the first time exactly I listened to it, but I remember my initial impression was that like this was probably some of like the edgiest music I listened to at the time. I've moved on since then, but I love this album. This is one of my favorite albums. It's probably it's definitely in like my top 5 of all time. I don't know. This was the album I went to when I was just kind of angry at the world for one reason or another. It was just kind of, I always return to it. Yeah, this was, for a while, this was my angry music. And again, I've graduated to some harder stuff since then, but this will always have a special place as my very first angsty album as a teenager. So I love it. Again, like I loved it then and I love it now. There's some eternal jams on here.
Nice. So yeah, we're all like
I'll also
Rob
say the
Cavallo-
birds are being a little squirrely, so I
Oh,
might mute.
they're revolting.
Yeah, I think they want dinner.
Yeah, they're like me. So, what about you, Rockefeller? Just your first impressions when you listened to this, and how old were you? Because we're giving our ages today.
Yeah.
I was 8.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Sorry. But I was a huge fan
Baby.
of the network at the time. No. I don't remember the first time I heard this album. I think the very latest would have been 2019. I had a writing project that I gave myself where I reviewed every album that was nominated for an Album of the Year Grammy. And obviously that one got nominated. And thinking back on it, this album had kind of a constant presence in my life. Like, I've heard it a few times. I've seen the Broadway musical. I saw them on tour this year. Like, and despite all that, yeah, it is a phenomenal album. I know like an entire generation of 2000s kids grew up with this thing. And like, I know a couple of people who will say that Jesus of Suburbia is the greatest song ever made, period.
Nice. So when this came out, I was 27, okay? Like, I was old. I was 17 when Dookie dropped. So yeah, I do remember when this came out, I was working for the man. I was working. I was already sweating and part of the machine. But I thought the first thing, I'm not gonna kid you down, when it came out and I saw that they were gonna have like longer songs, I thought, who the fuck do they think they are? Like, they're Green Day. They write like short like songs. Like, I thought it was gonna suck, to be honest, like at the beginning, because I thought longer tracks. At first I thought like, oh my God, they have to be like so full of themselves if they think that they can pull it off. Fortunately, when I listened to it, I was like, wow, they did pull it off, because before this, you gotta understand, I got into Green Day with Dookie and their albums before, and their songs were like 3 minutes, 2 minutes. They had like short songs, so it was weird for me that they went. This was like a turning page in their career. But the first single that I listened to was American Idiot, which was a short track, and I loved it. Obviously, like I wasn't in the States, but you know, I wasn't a fan of, like Bush or like the war that was happening. and obviously 9/11. So all of that played into that, because this is a concept record told through the eyes of the main protagonist, who's the Jesus of Suburbia. So it's everything that happens to him. Yes, I did my research. It's a concept album based on that character. And at that time, with 2004, you know, it was Green Day had to hold their own, because you had My Chemical Romance, you had The Used, you had like these newer bands like coming up. So Green Day was almost at that time like an old band. They've been around more than 10 years, and so they reinvented themselves. So, but I gotta be honest, at first I thought it was gonna be shit because of like the long tracks. I'm like, Green Day long tracks, I don't think so. But then I listened to it and it proved me wrong.
If only you knew what it would be like for Green Day to suck.
Yeah, I know. After that, they had a few albums that really sucked.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's one that I covered on Is It That Bad? The mother of all motherfuckers. One of the worst things ever. But yeah, no, this album, you know, was great. It's still not my favorite Green Day record. I think since Dookie still has like a special place in my heart, but I will put this second in the Green Day discography, at least for me. I'm thinking if you, maybe for you guys, for Emery and Rock of Ages, who you're more 2000 kids, maybe that one spoke more to you. Nick, you and me were old farts, so so we were around for that other for that other era. But yeah, those were my first impressions of that record, and I actually bought it on vinyl, and I did see Green Day back when I was living in Miami. I saw them in 2021 with their tour with Weezer and Fallout
On the Hella
Boy.
Mega Tour.
On the Hella Mega Tour. And Green Day really played amazing, and they played a lot of songs from American Idiot. They played like, it was great. So yeah, so let's go to round two and talk our favorite tracks from this record. Nick, what are your favorite tracks from this album?
For me, it would definitely be those epic long tracks like Jesus of Suburbia and Homecoming. I think Green Day definitely took their writing to another level. I'm not sure of the writing credits. Did Billy Joe write every song on this album without any assistance? Because like sometimes I wonder like, were there some ghostwriters on here, because he's always been a great songwriter, but it seems like things took a little bit of a step up on here. He started writing rock operas. It sounds like the Tommy or something.
It was Liam Gallagher.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
So Billy Joe Armstrong wrote almost all of the lyrics. There are some parts of Homecoming that Mike and Trey wrote themselves, but Billy Joe did most of the lyrics, and then all three of the members did all the music themselves.
Yeah. So
but it's a good thing.
Because
if you remember 1, 3, 3, 4, whatever that was.
Oh,
that
the
was
trilogy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Pure Crowd.
I love the trilogy. I did a video on my channel talking about how the trilogy is their best music. So
The 1, 2, 3, 4.
yeah.
No, they never made a quattro.
Oh, thank God.
It was like a DVD. It was like there is like an extra DVD that came out that was called Quattro. So it's in there somewhere. But anyways,
I hate those records.
I like What's Her Name? That's my favorite, one of my favorite songs on here. Just love Billy Joe's lyrics. It's just like a melancholy kind of song, and it's different than the big, it's the opposite of Jesus of Suburbia and American Idiot, because it's not really political. It seems like it's more personal. I know that he's written a lot of songs about one of his lost loves, that the one that got away. I think he continues to write songs about her. And then Extraordinary Girl. I like that one too. That's one of my favorite. I think that's one of the catchiest songs on the album.
Nice, good, different picks. What about you, Emery?
Okay, so my very favorite on here is Give Me Novocaine. That's one of my favorite songs of all time, favorite on the album by far. And then, yes, Pinto, you can have a snack. And then Wake Me Up When September Ends. It might be a little bit of a cliche pick, because I know that's like one of the bigger. Was that one a single? I didn't actually check. It was.
Yes.
Okay.
I have thoughts on that single, but I will save it for later.
Yeah, so that one That one's really good. I like that one, and then I liked yeah, Jesus of Suburbia and Homecoming. I also really enjoy, like the really long ones, because I really like that they kind of just have different like sections to them, but I like how they flow as a whole. And I really enjoy how Homecoming brings in some like motifs from the rest of the album and stuff. And I don't know if we want to talk about this now or talk about this later, but like I am of the opinion that Homecoming would have been a better closer than What's Her Name. And we can get into that more later, but yeah, Give Me Novocaine is my top track for sure. And then those are some of the other ones I like.
Nice. What about you, Bird? What's the name of
What do
the
you think,
parakeet?
Pinto? Pinto,
Like, what's your-
do you like the American Idiot album?
Oh,
No.
Pinto wanted.
Yeah, Pinto's hanging out. Yeah?
She's like, yes, I love it.
Yes. Yes, it's great.
Yes. What about you, Rock of all ages?
I feel a little bad because the top three I had written down were some of the singles. I had not Boulevard of Broken Dreams, but the other three. I'm gonna switch
Hey,
it
how
up.
did I forget about Boulevard of Broken Dreams? That's also one of my favorites. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the album list, and the ones that are like two songs I kind of missed. But yes, also Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Sorry to interrupt. Continue.
No, that's fine. Although there is an argument that that song is a little too overplayed. I don't think so, but I do get it. I'm going to switch it up, though. I'm going to say She's a Rebel. That one's really fun. Jesus of Suburbia and Give Me Novocaine are also good. I also had Are We the Waiting and St. Jimmy. But like you could just pick three songs at random and make a good case for them.
Yeah, I agree, man. So I guess that leaves me. I actually love American Idiot. I think that's a great track, and it stood the test of time. I love Jesus of Suburbia because even though it's a long song, I think they did it like real well. And you know this, it really goes into each other. The other song that I think Homecoming is great, but out of the other like singles, I like Holiday a lot. I think it's a great track.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and those I think those are like my favorite tracks from the record. I think the long ones are pretty good, but I think American Idiot it's still one that I listen to a lot. So yeah, those are the tracks. Yeah.
Something that I didn't realize until very recently. There's a David Bowie album called The Buddha of Suburbia, and I wondered if that was connected.
Maybe.
Green Day have never confirmed it, but it is a crazy coincidence. And I'm thinking, like, what other major religious prophet can we get? Like Moses of Suburbia.
Yeah, I don't know if Moses. Yeah.
My brain went to Elvis, which is not what we're talking about.
Well, for some people, he was a prophet.
Elvis of Suburbia.
Yes, followed by the Tupac of Suburbia.
That would be
Excellent.
interesting. I don't know about good, but it would be interesting.
Yes. Yeah, it would be interesting. I put it out there. I still think he's alive. He's still putting out records. Who knows?
It's gotta be out there somewhere.
It's gotta be out there. Like you imagine? But yeah, so yeah, we've all picked like different tracks. So now this is an easy question. 20 years later, how has it aged? The impact and like, do you think it stood the test of time, Nick?
Yeah, I do think it has stood the test of time. I did a video on my channel where I talked about like my top 10 favorite rock albums of 2004, and I think this one was somewhere near the top. The only thing that I would say maybe dates the album a little bit is because it's so specific about that time, that political climate at the time. Like, not to say that they're not calling anybody out by name in the lyrics, but everybody knows what the album's about. So maybe that could date it a little bit because it's 20 years later, and obviously, you know, the world is still a complete dumpster fire. But you know, it's just, you know, it's not quite the same as it was.
It's a slightly
back
different
then.
flavored dumpster fire.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Different color flame.
Yeah, there's different
sure.
things are burning, but you know, it's
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I just think it's still a great album. And I think Green Day's really been chasing this album since American Idiot, because they've tried to recapture that magic over the years. They tried to do it on 21st Century Breakdown, which I don't think was successful at all. And then they went away from it for a little bit. And then I felt like they kind of came back to it with Saviors. And I think that Saviors is like 20 years later is the equivalent, the kind of the sister record or the brother record to American Idiot. So I feel like they've kind of recaptured that magic. But to me, this is still definitely near the top of the best Green Day records and one of the best records of 2004.
I thought Revolution Radio was also pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Eh,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, they
Was
haven't put out
unimpressed.
an amazing. This American Idiot was their last great album. I said it. After that, everything has been crap. Okay, and the Saviors, it's okay. It's American Idiot light. That's what I would call that album. Yeah, I gotta be honest. Yeah, I don't think they will ever top this record after that. So, what about you, Emery? 20 years later.
Yeah, absolutely. It still stood the test. Like I don't remember who said that. Like some of these songs still play on the radio today. And I don't know about any of like the really long ones, but I still listen to it. It had been a while since I listened to the entire album in full. 'Cause like I said, I'm not usually a huge album listener, but this, yeah, it's definitely stood the test of time. And like I said, there are some eternal jams on here. And I agree that there is a little, it's a little bit dated and with the politics of the time, like you said, but there are definitely some tracks on here that just are evergreen.
Nice. So, what about you, Rock of All Ages?
So I mentioned earlier that I saw Green Day's tour this year. It's kind of for their new album, but also it's sort of a milestone acknowledgement. You know, Dookie turns 30 this year, American Idiot turns 20. So they played both of those albums in their entirety. And when they did American Idiot, they made two small but notable changes. For the title track, they changed "I'm not a part of your redneck agenda" to "I'm not a part of a MAGA agenda." And then during the "I don't care if you don't" part of Jesus of Suburbia, Billy Joe Armstrong, you might remember at the time, he would bring out this like fake plastic head of George W. Bush with "Idiot" written on it. Here he did that with Trump.
That's
So
great.
in some ways, this album is, you know, well, the short answer is yes, it has aged well. The long answer is a lot of the things that they talk about on the album are still relevant, which kind of says less about the album and more about just like how fucked up everything is, that some of the same problems are still here.
Yeah, I agree, man. I thought we would be. I was promised hoverboards by Back to the Future 2. And guess what? I live in Puerto Rico and we don't even have fucking electricity sometimes.
Well, unfortunately, one part of Back to the Future 2 did prove true.
That Biff is Trump?
Yeah, the screenwriter said he was based on Trump.
Yeah, he looks
God,
like him.
really?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, it looks like him. So for me, yes, it's a classic album. I do think, yeah, it goes back to 2004, but like we've all said, it's 20 years later, it's the same shit, different names, and different wars, different countries, but nothing has changed that much. The only track that I would erase from this record because I'm fucking tired of listening to it is "Wake Me Up When September Ends." Like it's been so overplayed. And you even have the memes of like every time that September ends, everyone's like, wake Billy Joe up, because it's one of those songs that, you know, it's good, but it's been played so much that I'm like, please make it stop. It's like My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. I don't want to listen to it anymore. So that's the only track that if this was our friend live listen erase, where you can erase a song, I would erase that one. Because I'm sick and tired of listening to it. I know it was a huge single, but it's kind of corny after you
I get
listen
where
to
you're
it.
coming from with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
To the band's credit, they have, embraced the jokes about it. Like there was
Yeah.
a video that they posted recently of Billy Joe Armstrong waking up and it's like, oh, it's October 1st.
Yeah, they do the joke thing, and they played it when I saw them, but I think I heard it so much, and
Yeah.
I heard a lot of American Idiot, that track, but I love that track. So there's the difference, but not saying that I said that it's a bad track. It's just that I'm sick and tired of listening to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, 20 years later, yeah, this is still one of their best records, and they haven't topped this record, in my opinion, and they never will. And I actually reviewed Saviors here, and I thought it was okay, but I didn't think it's not going to be in my end of the year list. I can tell you that it's not even near. It's not even near like a top 50 if I did a top 50. But yeah, but this album has aged really well. So we want to know from you, Couchers, 20 years later, how would you rate American Idiot by Green Day? Is it your favorite record from the band? Comment down below. So I want to thank my guest, Nick Sino, for joining us. He covers a lot of rock music, and obviously his favorite band is Oasis. So if they're going to put out a new album, he'll cover it first. I saw that upload. He says, I'm like, oh, Nick uploaded something. Yes, it's an Oasis video. They should record a new album. Like,
I think so. Yeah, I think it's going to happen for sure.
yeah, and they should thank you on the liner notes.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So and I collaborate on his channel as well. So subscribe to him. Emery, she doesn't have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I
but
stream on Twitch every once in a while. I stream Sims sometimes. Eclaire314. If y'all want to check it out. I always have a bird cam going where you can see what the birds are up to. So I don't stream regularly or anything, but I'll hop on and play Sims every once in a while.
when you say Sims, is that Sims that game where you the simulation
game,
that you're?
yes.
I haven't played that in ages.
Yeah,
I
Sims. It's the Sims 4.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know I'm old. I played like the Sims 1, and
The OG
and I was really
Sims,
bad
yeah.
at it, Emery. Like my characters got depressed, and I got characters that died.
Sims are really
I'm
bad
like,
at keeping themselves alive.
Yeah,
They
I'm
are
like, go work, and then it popped like your character doesn't want to go work. I'm like, then go eat.
Did you do
Your
the thing with the
character-
pool ladder?
So I was terrible.
Oh
at
yeah,
that
did you
game.
ever take away the pool ladder? That's a classic.
Oh, and they drowned. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. That you can't do that anymore. They took that out of the game.
The
I
good
think.
thing is I became a parent, and now I have to keep them alive. So it's the
Smart.
Sims in real
That's
life.
smart.
So yeah. So and finally, Rock of All Ages. His channel is like a podcast. You don't see him, you just listen to him, and he gives you facts. So subscribe to his channel. Also, if you like that type of podcast type of feel. So coming up next, this Sunday, we have a brand new episode of Is It That Bad? And we're covering an album by the Foo Fighters. So it's Medicine at Midnight. So that will be up Sunday morning at 10 a.m. So until next time, until next time, Couchers, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.